Here are today's top news stories and why they matter. Guinea-Bissau's opposition has called for a nationwide protest beginning today amid a conflict regarding the expiration date of President Umaro Sissoco Embalo's 5-year term. What is this protest about? Opposition figures insist that Embalo's mandate ends today. This comes as the Supreme Court of Justice in the small West African nation determined that the president's term actually ends on the 4th of September 2025. Tensions escalated after Embalo announced on Sunday that both presidential and legislative elections would be postponed until November 30th this year. This raised concerns about potential unrest in a country with a history of military coups. Embalo was sworn in for a 5-year term in February 2020 after a disputed election. Members from the opposition coalition are calling for a total paralysis of the country. Security forces have been deployed at strategic points across the capital, Bissau. A high-level mission from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, met leaders of several parties earlier this week to try to renew political dialogue. Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin hosted Guinea-Bissau president for talks in the Kremlin on Wednesday, the latest sign of a drive by Moscow to build up economic and security relationships with countries in West and Central Africa. Rwandan opposition parties have affirmed support for President Paul Kagame amid increased international pressure and economic sanctions. The East African nation is being accused of supporting M23 rebels who are on an aggressive offensive in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. DW's Alex Garambe tells us why the support matters.
Rwanda's opposition throwing weight behind Kagame is no small development. In many countries, opposition parties seize on international pressure to challenge the ruling government. But in this case, the opposition's backing sends a powerful message of national unity, a sign that Rwanda sees external sanctions as a threat to its sovereignty rather than just Kagame's leadership. However, some analysts say the support is not surprising since all opposition parties work with the ruling Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, in a consensus political approach. The support comes as the government insists that it does not fear isolation over the war in Eastern DRC. Kigali is calling the conflict in Eastern DRC an existential threat fueled by genocidal forces. Some Rwandans on social media have also expressed support for Kagame. Britain suspended most of its bilateral aid, and the United States has already imposed sanctions on a Rwandan minister. So will the opposition's support make a difference when it comes to international isolation of Rwanda? Or is it simply to appease the ruling party and the president?
And finally, North Korea has sent more soldiers to Russia and redeployed several to the front line in Kursk, Seoul's spy agency told journalists. South Korean and Western intelligence agencies have said that more than 10,000 soldiers from the reclusive state were sent to Russia last year to help it fight the Ukrainian offensive into the Kursk border region. Why does this matter? North Korea has been supplying a vast amount of conventional weapons to Russia, and last fall it sent about 10,000 to 12,000 troops to Russia as well, according to US, South Korean, and Ukrainian intelligence officials. North Korean soldiers are highly disciplined and well-trained, but observers say they've become easy targets for drone and artillery attacks on Russian-Ukraine battlefields due to the lack of combat experience and unfamiliarity with the terrain. Earlier this month, Seoul said North Korean soldiers previously fighting alongside Russia's army on the Kursk front line had not been engaged in combat since mid-January. Ukraine also said they had been withdrawn following heavy losses. And that's all we had for you today. For more in-depth analysis of news happenings, subscribe to our YouTube channel, DW Africa. My name is Okeri Ngushinado.